Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Sweat, thank you so much for rebalancing OSHA's mission to ensure compliance assistance is a priority. As a former construction business owner, I know how important that can be. Employers really do want to do the right thing. They care about their employees. They want to keep employees safe, and feeling like they can ask OSHA for assistance to ensure they are doing things correctly is absolutely critical. It appears to me my colleagues on the other side of the aisle are looking to pin OSHA as the scapegoat and place blame for the spread of a global pandemic on employers. And I'll just, food for thought, that may seem like a pro-worker stance right now, but it won't be very pro-worker when their misguided targeting causes them to lose all their jobs due to business closures. So a question for you. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle seem to think the guidance you put out is optional and that employers can choose to follow them. They'll argue that this is why we need to pass more onerous laws that will end up in a legal spider web that do not meet the needs of all industries. Do you think that rhetoric could ultimately be more dangerous for workers if employers are misled to believe that they don't legally need to follow your guidance?
Well, I definitely think it's problematic, but I think what we need to say here is employers do need to know and understand their obligations under the Occupational Safety and Health Act. They need to make a plan. They need to determine what they need to do to protect their workers. And the time to do that is now, before a dramatic reopening. I know we've talked a lot today about essential workers, and we've looked at a lot of these essential worker categories and have tried to provide the best updated, scientifically accurate guidance that we can. And we will continue to do our work. And if I could respond briefly to the previous question that I received, OSHA has responded to almost 5,000 COVID complaints. And what we are trying to achieve every day is removing the worker from the hazard or removing the hazard from the workplace.
So can you tell me a little bit more about that process, the screening process when you do get a complaint? How does it get evaluated? How long does it take? How is it determined that OSHA will open an investigation? And if so, what does the investigation entail?
Thank you. The investigation entails the employer being put immediately on alert that we understand there could be a problem in their workplace. They have to respond to us. They have to tell us what they're doing to resolve the complaint. If we find the resolution that they've proffered inappropriate or not protective of the worker, we can convert to an inspection and work to our enforcement. But again, it's removing the worker from the hazard or removing the hazard from the workplace. These are really the goals that we need to be focused on to protect workers and not just issuing citations.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Dr. Howard. I'd like to thank you for the work that your agency is doing to produce the guidance that all Americans are relying on to make safe decisions as they navigate the threat of COVID-19. We appreciate all the long hours that both you and your team at NIOSH, as well as the team folks at OSHA, are putting in to ensure that guidance is there. It really is needed for employers to safely reopen. I know NIOSH has played a central role in finding ways to overcome the global shortage of PPE, and we've heard that from hospitals in our district that it's been difficult to find sources. Just what information can you share to help them address PPE shortages, and also in employers as well? How do they find appropriate and safe PPE?
Well, as I mentioned before, the supply of filtering face piece respirators like N95s is increasing. I pointed out that domestic manufacturers like 3M and Honeywell have doubled, tripled their production capabilities. 3M is making 90 million N95s per month. Honeywell is making 20 million N95s per month.
I want to get in one additional question. I know that CDC collects data on instances in which COVID exposure could have happened in the workplace. how can we truly determine if someone's exposure did indeed occur in the workplace?
Well, thank you for that question. That is a very difficult question to answer, to tease out what is true occupational exposure from what is community exposure that is then carried into the workplace. Remember, this virus doesn't have wings or feet. It has to have a person carry it around. So distinguishing between occupational transmission and community transmission is a topic that is involving some very smart epidemiologists at CDC currently.
Thank you very much.